Welcome to the Executive Real Estate Investing Show. This podcast is for you, the busy business owner or executive looking to create generational wealth. Here, we're going to show you how to do that through real estate investing, from multifamily to industrial and everything in between. You will become a real estate investing expert. And now, here's your host, Michael Holman.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Executive Real Estate Investing Show. I'm your host, Michael Holman. Excited to have you with us here today. And like always, we are going to start with the executive tip. And today's executive tip actually comes from my brother. As I was going around, I was asking people, hey, what advice would you give to the world? So my brother Dave, this one, it comes from him. And I very much resonate with it. He said, my advice that I would give, his executive tip was, you need to be willing to play extremely hard, but you also at the same time need to be willing to play very hard, right? Have that mindset. And that doesn't mean a perfect balance of like 9 to 5. He was telling me, and I completely agree, sometimes that means you work 13, 14 hours a day, but you have to balance that out. You take a week vacation at some point with your friends or your family or whatever way you play. So today's executive tip, play hard, work hard, make sure you're doing both. Once again, I'm your host, Michael Holman, and today we have a very special guest with us. I'm really excited to have him with us. His name's Raju Datla. He is all over the place. He's all over LinkedIn. That's actually how I first found Raju. He started his own podcast. He's a full-time IT professional. He's a real estate investor, both active and passive. He's a personal development junkie, and I'm really excited to get into that, Raju. We're definitely going to have to spend some time on that because I too love personal and professional development. But Raju, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael. Are you being too kind? I don't know. You're hyping me up too much. I hope I come to 10% of what you're saying. All right.
No, I love it, and honestly, I'm really excited. So I just want to kind of get into things, Raju, if that's okay, because you have all this diverse experience and background, right? I mean, you're in IT, you're in real estate, you're in podcasting, essential services. You kind of have all these different items and these different, past history and background. Tell me about all this. Like, how did you get involved in so many different things?
Sure. So like 4 years, I'll go into a little bit of a personal story. So 4 years ago, a little bit over 4 years ago, my divorce was finalized and I'm an IT guy. I was looking for options to create more income. That changes the financial situation a lot. So I was looking at startups because I'm an IT and that's what I was looking at with my best friend, and something happened and he wasn't feeling well. So it never worked out. And meanwhile, somebody introduced me to the essential services business, my ex-boss actually. And that hit me. I'm like, that was more like a side hustle. I'm like, all right, this can make me some few extra cash, while I'll try to find something else in the future. But what it led me to is a lot of real estate professionals, real estate investors, a lot of them were involved in the business. And that led me to my first passive investment. That was the first thing. The second thing was personal development. One of the company conventions I went to, the co-founder, owner, chairman stood up and said, think and grow rich. If you think any business or anything you do is going to be easy, you better forget it. Nothing easy. Read this book. This is going to change your mindset. And yeah, for me, I follow whenever somebody successful says something, I follow it. I read it and pretty much started on that path, pretty much became a junkie. I go 100%. But if something pulls me and I'm 100% in, there's no back, there's no like tippy-toeing. I just go in. So yeah, it's been there. And then I've since then been in Landmark. If anybody knows about Landmark Worldwide, it's a personal development, personal transformation. So that's something I've been involved in for 2.5 years. So kind of that, so the podcasting, same thing. I started last year, I guess, getting back into podcasting last year before pandemic. So I try to network with people, like reach out to real estate investors, realtors, all this stuff, because one of the things essential services can do is provide them that extra cash flow if they so choose to. So I tried to figure out like, okay, I can reach out to them, but if they don't want to do business, what other value can I provide? So one of the things I figured out was, okay, if I can do a video with them, if they want to get their businesses out, I can do a LinkedIn video, get their video out, information sharing, So that's how it started. And then last year, my partner and I partnered up on podcasts. She and I were into similar things, spirituality, mindset, personal development, and there you are. So all these things together now.
I love it. There's so many things there that I kind of just want to unpackage.
Sure.
Right. So to start off, right, I mean, you're talking about spirituality, you're talking about personal development. I'd love to hear more about that, right? What on your personal development side, what are some of the things that you've been doing or books that you've been reading along the personal development and spirituality lines?
I go diverse. I'm like a junkie right now. I just finished The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It was an amazing book about being in the now, which I've read several other books, but his perspective is completely different, how he puts it, because we're always caught up in, we're only living always, most humans are living in the past or or the future. They're not living in the moment, right then and there. So one of the things I learned in that book is, in the moment, in the now, there's no sadness. In the now is always joy. There's nothing to be sad about. It's only when you're stuck in your past or in the future, where you see a lack or where you see a pain from the past into the future, is when you get like stuck in that, and that's where you experience the pain. I mean, that's one of the tips. So
yeah, that's awesome. No, that's really interesting. I mean, I think about that, right? As you're saying that, I'm kind of relating it to my own personal experience, right? And I was just thinking about some frustrations I had even earlier today. And most of it is related to stuff that I know is coming up in the future that's going to take a bunch of my time, right? And that's why I was getting, that's where the frustrations were stemming from. It wasn't stemming from anything that was happening right then and there.
Right.
So that's fantastic. Well, and you talk about spirituality. I think that's something that's really important for a lot of people, and especially a lot of the listeners that we have are really high powered, right? They're business executives, they're business owners, or they're aspiring business executives and business owners. And they have a lot of ambitions, right? And so you don't often hear, spirituality coming up as a part of that. Maybe can you just take us on a brief path on where did you kind of gain this sense of spirituality and what that means to you?
Sure. So I'll go back to my childhood. I grew up in India, so we kind of naturally tend towards the spiritual side, because I was born in certain religion, but Hindu religion is not really like a religion where you're stuck to certain things only. It's more about overall spiritual side than a religious side. I grew up in that, but at 14, 15 years old, I read the Bible and everything. So it wasn't just like Hindu. I read everything. By 15, I read even the Bible. Not the entire thing. I read like a 3/4 of the Bible at one point. So one thing I decided was every religion teaches similar things once you start reading. So anyway, I went into this phase where, God doesn't exist. I don't see a God. There's no God, and there's all this religion. It causes only strife and all these killings and all that stuff. So I got into the mode. I became an atheist essentially. Mm-hmm. I wasn't like a hardcore where I would have fights with like religious people. I'm like, cool, if you believe it, great for you. I don't believe it. That's fine. You believe it, great for you. As long as you don't force me, I'm good with you.
Yeah.
But that changed about 3 years ago in the personal development journey when I heard Wayne Dyer talk about spirituality and God. And he went to in-depth, long story short, he said God exists in everything. Plant, everything, you are God. And then that got me into a deep rabbit hole. Then I went to quantum theory. Quantum theory is, or quantum physics is like observer effect. What you see is what happens. What you observe is what happens.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of science behind it that ultimately says that like everything is made up of the same thing. We're basically energy, just bonded together. So if you go deep into it, you can believe God is out there, but really God is everywhere.
Yeah.
Or whatever you call it, universal force, whatever, I call it universal force. So somebody can call it God. But the basic fact was that's where I went to deep study and then realized like, yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah. No, that's a very, that is such a personal journey. And I love you sharing that with us because, that's a journey that kind of makes up who we are. And especially as business, like I said, as business owners and business executives, it's oftentimes necessary for us to take a step back from the business that we're doing, right? To just think about whatever your religious beliefs or whatever, your faith or anything like that, just to take a step back and try and look beyond just, what is happening right then and there. And oftentimes that can help give, purpose and meaning to a lot of the things that we're doing, even tied back all the way to our business and our families and everything like that. So really, really appreciate you sharing that with us. I kind of want to go even, back further now. You said you kind of got started in the tech world. What was your journey through the tech world?
So, yeah, I mean, back when I was 17, 18, I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. That was my goal. And this is back in, you were talking about mid 80s, older than I might look. But my dad at that point, was, I don't know, lack of terms here. He was a bureaucrat, high level bureaucrat back in India, most on the police side. But anyway, he said, hey, go look at these things called computers. They're coming out now. And I looked at it and that's it. I felt instant love. I saw like this was a green screen box, thing. When I started, it was like 16K or something was like high level memory, so long time. And that's it. Pretty much I fell in love and that's what I wanted to do. I did my undergrad and then I came to US. Really, my dad and my uncle kind of convinced me to come here. I didn't want to come here. It wasn't a thing for me because I didn't, monetarily, I was, well off, my dad was well off, so I didn't need to come here. But my dad said, okay, go there, get 2 years degree and come back and then we'll, I'll front you some money and we can establish a business from the connections you create there. But 2 months here, I decided this is where I want to live. This is my philosophical country. Where I want to live. And then that's how it came. And I never thought about anything else other than IT because I was passionate about technology. So I did various roles, pretty much, any from software development to leadership roles. But yeah, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, pretty much got tired of the corporate culture. Now I'm still working, full-time consulting still, but that might change in a year. I might, depending on how my other businesses generate enough income, IT, we get paid decent salary. So
that's awesome. So what caused you to make that switch, right? I mean, you kind of mentioned tired of the corporate culture. Was there any other, situations or actions that really caused you to think, hey, I need to rethink where I'm currently standing?
Yeah, one is obviously the corporate culture. The type of management I like and what I do was completely different to what the corporate culture is. I don't call management, I call leadership versus management. There's a huge difference. A lot of people in the leadership role don't get that. That's one. And then there is a lack of empathy. I can get into all those details. If people have been in the corporate culture, there's this curve you got to do. You got to rate people according to curve. That's all BS, I think. Because if somebody is good, somebody is good. You can't curve him against somebody else. That seems like a nonsense to keep it, I don't know, keep somebody down, I guess. But that was one. The second part was I realized I wanted to make a difference. And the only way I could do it was this essential services or other side where I wanted to change lives. And that was the business was the only way to do that for me. Is like my ambition is that I'm going to change lives, either through coaching or mentoring, whatever the case is. As I grow, and I'm being mentored, obviously, by several people. And then, yeah, I want to pass it on to mentor people and coach them. So that's, I mean, I've did that in the IT realm too, but it doesn't make a person financially independent.
No, so. But that's, you know, I can very much relate to kind of the journey, right? I mean, I just look at it, even what I've done, right? I came from a corporate culture. When I left the company that I did right before I joined Overland, right? I went from a company that had over 220,000 employees worldwide to a company that had less than 20. Right. And so, but I kind of did for the same reasons that you were talking about, right? I mean, you wanted to make a difference. And that was one of the things that I noticed when you take that jump, you know, and I actually really enjoy, you know, corporate structure, corporate culture. And I jive with that really well. But the hard thing for me is I didn't want to wait, you know, however many years I needed to wait before I could really start making a difference. And that's why the jump happened, is all of a sudden now, right, you can really start making an impact in people's lives and on a business very early on. So I can really relate. And then, you know, all the way down to this podcast, right? You're talking about helping other people, changing lives. I know you started a podcast. That's why we started this podcast, is, you know, how can we better people's lives? How can we help them, you know, become more financially free so they can spend more time with their family as they transition, you know, through that process. So that was, you know, your journey. I feel like, you know, there's unique parts of it, but I feel like what you're talking about is so relatable to so many of the people who are listening to the show, and why, you know, I think a lot of them can kind of relate to the journey and the experiences that you've had. Now, Raju, one of the things that I know you've really been good at and you've been focusing on over the last little bit is just, you know, building your network and connecting people. You know, what are the means, or how are you going about to build your network and to connect people?
Yeah, sure. So that's one thing I learned from the book, The Go-Givers by Bob Burg. So now that's more, you know, the way he does it, you know, or you know, talks about in the book is like, you go to networking event, you go talk to someone and then find out what they want, and you figure out somebody else you can connect to, and then connect them together or provide some value. And that's how you build a network, because that's creates a relationship, and somebody actually thinks, okay, this guy actually cares, and, you know, he's not just looking to get something for himself. That's it. I mean, yeah, we all want to get something for ourselves, but you also, if you go, you know, the philosophy with the Zig Ziglar, which is on anybody sees my LinkedIn profile, it is there. The more people help, you know, you help get what they want, you get what you want. And pretty much that's my philosophy. That's how I started, like, figured out, okay, one thing I can do is whenever I connect to someone, ask them who they would like to connect to, or who are the type of people, right? And then as soon as I find somebody that, if I already know someone, great, I'll connect them immediately. So I pretty much on purpose try to, like, on that day, try to connect them to one or two people. And that's how I started building. And then the second one, I wanted to figure out, like, okay, what else can I do? And also put my name out there. Like, if you're in a business, you become your brand. That's what, you know, anybody should understand is why we do podcasts. Anybody does podcast is put your name out there so that people can relate to you, right? And connect to you. When you connect with them, they already feel like they know a little bit about you, or at least trust you. So that's the other one. I just said, okay, I can put somebody's name. So I met Michael, and Michael wants, these type of people to connect, all right, why don't I interview Michael and put his name out there and say, hey, if Michael like rhymes with or jives with you or connects you, why don't you reach out to him? This is what he does. And, you share what you share. So that's another way. And the podcast is, just like you are doing, it's more about personal development. We just wanted to interview successful people, their journey, their mindset, their spirituality, how it's all important, ties together to create a successful business, entrepreneurship, or investment, whatever it is.
I love it. And kind of digging into that a little more, what are some of the mediums, right? I mean, like I found you via LinkedIn, for example, right? That's kind of where you and I first started connecting. Are you doing that exclusively through LinkedIn? Are you attending events? If so, what events? Like, what are the kind of the mediums that you're doing to connect with people and network with people right now?
Right now, it has been pretty much LinkedIn. I used to do the in-person. I mean, I'm in Dallas, so we still can do in-person. But I mean, I've made so many great connections through LinkedIn. The only reason I might go to the live event is just to meet people in person, just to, say hi. I might like just go there to see if I can help somebody there and connect them, because I don't know if I'll get the quality of people I'm meeting through LinkedIn. I mean, for example, I met, I don't want to mention names, a famous author, let's say. I'm trying to get her to do my podcast. I would never imagine she would say even that. Yes, she said yes, and I'm trying to negotiate the timings now. So I wouldn't go to a networking event and meet someone like that. That wouldn't happen. Through LinkedIn, I just connected with her LinkedIn and asked her the question. And she said yes. And, some people like in Bigger Pockets, I met a couple of people, Bigger Pockets, they came. One did our show, another one is going to do the show. So that doesn't happen when you're doing like in person. So COVID has been a blessing. I think it's it forced people to connect remotely with Zoom, all this stuff that like we're doing the Zoom now. And we probably wouldn't have connected maybe, if it wasn't for COVID, right? So
no, I mean, definitely things have gotten more remote. And so there's no denying that, right? Remote work is more popular. Zoom is off the charts popular, right? I mean, I've used Zoom a few times before COVID. I've used Zoom like 1,000 times since.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
So, no, I mean, you're exactly right in there. And I agree. I think LinkedIn is a great medium for connecting with people. Is there anything specifically that you do? I mean, are you just reaching out constantly on LinkedIn? Are you trying to post a lot? What are you doing on LinkedIn to try and build that network?
Yeah, those two things. Yeah, content, right? Every day I post content. Usually it's like 3 or 4 are videos. More videos you post, the better it is, because the people see you. And then keep it short. Don't keep it long. That's some of the lessons I've learned. And also always try to post directly to the LinkedIn instead of trying to post through YouTube or something, because that's another lesson I learned. Now, eventually, once you never know which one goes viral. Like, I did a posting last Friday, about my kids, where I got them to read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and now we're all playing together cash flow game.
Yep.
And that one, it's a picture, it's not even a video. And then I just wrote down what I did to get them to do it. And that kind of like boom, it went like, oh, wow, that many likes and that many people doing that. I didn't think it was that great.
No, that's fantastic.
Content, number one. And then I reach out to people, real estate investors. Anybody in the real estate investing world, I try to reach out to. I mean, LinkedIn now allows only 100 people or so. So I have that, I go, connect with people. I always message if I connect with them. And somebody connects with me, unless they're trying to sell me right off the bat, usually I'll always like respond and say, yeah, let's set up a one-to-one and see how I can help you. And, go from there, because I always try to see if I don't see anything that I can do with them, or at least I can help them, then I try not to like say anything, because it's a waste of time because I don't feel good if I'm like trying to only get, right? I got to be able to offer something of a value for them. So that's how I try to maintain all those connections. So now I'm like, I don't know, getting close to 9,000 something.
That's phenomenal. And we're gonna go into one other thing really quickly until we get into real estate, because you just mentioned that. But one of the things that I just kind of I want all of the listeners to know and understand, right? Whether it's LinkedIn or another medium, there are opportunities to reach outside of your current network and to build your network. LinkedIn is just one of the ways to do that. Right. And something that's being emphasized here. And I actually love it. Right. And that's one of the constant issues, right? A lot of times people get stuck in ruts, right? I don't know how to do that, or I don't know the right people, or, whatever the excuse may be, whether it's your business or whether you're dealing with a problem at a larger corporation, right? LinkedIn and these other tools. I mean, you have a limitless possibility to go out and reach people, pull them into your network. And like you said, talk to people who you probably, you would have to fly, out. I'd have to fly out to Dallas right now to meet you. Yeah. We'd have to set up a whole meeting, go get lunch, whatever the case may be. That would be a big deal. But on LinkedIn, all of a sudden in just a few seconds, we're connected, we have a conversation, right? And it just goes from there. And so that's one of the things that I really want to point out to the listeners, right? Right. Whether you have a business, whether you're a business executive, whether you're aspiring to be a business owner, right? You got to create the network, and LinkedIn is a great tool for that. Yep. Now, I want to transition a little bit because you talked about you connecting with a lot of real estate investors. So, we've talked about all these IT and tech and, personal development. When and why did you start getting into real estate investing?
Yeah, so going back to the services business, I connected with someone, and then I had money in the 401k, and then I kind of didn't feel comfortable with the stock market. I'm not much of a stock market guy, so I'm like, all right. So someone I knew through the business, he's a big time investor. He's done about 10,000 transactions in single family homes, so it's quite a lot, $1 billion, $4 billion. So I knew him for a year, and I'm like, all right, I didn't know anything. He said, yeah, give me the money. I'll do this. I'm like, all right, I'll trust you. And that's how I did it. But then I started noticing okay, to expand my business services, I got to connect with a lot of people in the real estate world. And then that's how I started connecting and started learning. When you start listening to people, talking to people, you learn more things. And that led to a lot of different connections. I did Airbnb. I just finished Airbnb. One of the properties, just closed it out. Also have plans. I have offers of people, I got a lot of friends who wanted to partner up. I'm debating back and forth. Now I'm about to get into tax lien investing. I'm actually paying to learn that. It is very, very lucrative. So I'm expecting it to be very lucrative based on what I heard, right? Everything I heard, I trust the person. So that's where I'll go. But Airbnb also will be there because I plan to do those. If I find properties that I can do Airbnb on, I'll do that. But beyond that, my goal is to 7 to 10 streams of income. I would say 6 to 7 of them will for sure be in real estate. It just makes sense, a lot of, like a multifamily or I don't know, assisted living, you got so many avenues, right, to invest passively. So the goal is make money and dump money in various things, where I don't have to be active. I'll be active in 1 or 2 areas, which is the tax lien and maybe Airbnb and my services business. The rest of them will be passive. Yeah.
Well, you answered the next question I was about to ask you, right? So it sounds like the goal is you're trying to build up the passive, being a limited partner. You talked about syndications and all these other things. So is your focus right now, are you kind of splitting your time between being an active investor and a passive investor? Are you trying to shift more to passive? Kind of what's your goal? How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, no, mostly passive right now. Right now, I have one passive joint venture going on right now, and then the first investment came back, and I'm actually looking to invest that stuff back in. right? Again, passive, so trying to find the right opportunity, because knowing so many people now, I got a lot of options. So that means, I'm looking for the right option.
Yes.
So, it maximizes the money I'm going to make. Plus, yeah, the goal of, going into tax lien, how that's going to work is, building assets. Most of them will be essentially mostly rental properties is what I'm planning. Some might be just quick bucks, make quick money. So, whatever it is that the intention is, my whole mindset has changed from, like, I recently sold my luxury car and got a Honda car because I decided it's not an asset. And when I told my kids what's an asset and what's a liability, I got to show them. Right? That's why they were willing to read the Rich Dad Poor Dad, because they see you, what you do, not what you say.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can really relate to that. I got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old right now, and I can tell them something all day long, but doesn't matter how much, soda I drink. And if I tell them don't drink the soda, they see me drinking it. They always want it. I can definitely relate. Well, Raju, I just kind of want to wrap up, right? Ask a couple of questions here that I like to ask all of my guests that come on the show. So the first question, what's the best business advice that you were ever given?
Really, persistence. And, pretty much that's it. Any business anybody starts, if you're not going to be persistent, it's pointless. Don't even start, because anybody knows business, you're going to have that roller coaster ride. And if you're a person to quit easy, then you're never going to, nobody's going to succeed there. I mean, you might have a fluke, and maybe succeed, but that's not going to be a long-term success. The long-term success is persistence and overcoming those odds, constantly striving to do better. There's no end goal. There's, like Simon Sinek says, infinity game. It's an infinity game.
Yes, I love it. And honestly, that is some of the best advice you could really give anybody, I think, especially in the business world, is you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, and you have to be able to push through and work through those, and be persistent. So fantastic. Okay. Next question. What real estate investing advice would you give other business owners and executives?
I would say, even if you're doing a passive investing, study, right? Build those relationships first and, do that. But number one thing is, invest in real estate. You got to, if you don't have time, do the passive investing. But if you don't, I mean, especially where the dollar value might be going, you better have assets, right? I mean, anybody would probably say that. I don't have to say that. I mean, like, anybody who has any business sense, I think, should know that, right? Where the economy probably is going to head. So invest in business, look into it. If you can do active, just do passive. There are plenty of avenues. There's so much options. Cash flow or multiplier. There's so many things, So look seriously into that.
Great. No, I completely agree. And I especially agree too on the assets, right? I mean, you can hear all of the experts, whether you follow them or not, they all have different opinions. A lot of them right now are saying, right, you need assets. It's really important to have assets, especially in the economy that we're experiencing right now.
Yep.
Well, Raju, how can people get in contact with you?
LinkedIn, best way, reach out to me, Raju Datla, and then you'll see Zig Ziglar quote on my background. So that's how you'll know it's me. So love to connect. And like I said, I always looking to, connect people together, or whatever value I can provide. Just reach out to me. Would love to talk to you, anybody. As long as they're not selling me. So
Well, you heard it. If you are looking to connect with people and you're not looking to sell Raju, connect with him right now. Love it. Hey, Raju, thank you so much for your time and your insight. Your journey is, it's like I said, it's so unique in a lot of circumstances, but it also is so relatable, I think, to so many people who are listening to the show. So thank you for your time.
No, thank you so much, Michael. Yeah, you've been kind, but yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Executive Real Estate Investing Show. Ready to learn more? Go to executivereishow.com for more episodes and resources to help you create generational wealth through real estate investing. That's executivereishow.com.